Just cleaning my glasses. I always get filthy over the course of the day at the drawing table. It's like all these microfiber cloths everywhere in my apartment. I just bought a big stack a little while ago. All right, oh, what's this? Managing moderators can support your channel in even more ways. Huh, that looks like it's automated shit. I'll look into that later. Oh, great to hear the audio's good. I ordered some sound tiles. Apparently, there's a slight echo from my studio because I have some, just concrete walls that are covered in paint here. All right. So I spent most of the week trying to come up with various different Galactus drawings, like kind of like that. And nothing I was doing I was happy with. So tonight's session is not going to be painting, which is what I was hoping for. It's going to be a drawing session. So I kind of figured out a composition I want to go with finally. And so I'll just be drawing the parts, and then maybe either I'll paint it on my own over the course of the week, or actually I'll hold a Galactus painting session next week. But first off, the art books. Now, the reason why this book is here is because this book finally just landed in my hands this week. Now, Jack Ferragasso himself is probably best known for this book. And this book in particular is using the Riley method. Let's see if it actually credits it near in the cover. Frank J. Riley School of Art. Okay, Frank Riley developed a system to draw the human figure from memory with these if you memorize these shapes, you'll get a realistic figure. Problem is, if it's not really, really super informed by lots and lots of life drawing, it's a weak system. It has some great bits in it that I've incorporated in my own work. It's got some bits in it. I mean, it even has a whole section in like sharpening pencils in a specific way, how to make lines. It's very, very much a fundamental drawing book. But even in his examples, and I hope some of these are, I think they're all his work, but some of these are just terrible. Like this drawing with the arm coming around the head and the torso and the breast, the rib cage is so massive. It's terrible. But I think he's the only person who actually took the time to take all of Riley's very, very valuable lessons. Like look at this brilliant way of breaking down the leg here. It's great. It has elements of bridgement in it, and it's really, really, really helpful. But looking for growth lines. It's got a whole bunch of like nice preamble to the actual drawing the figure. Introduces some of the concepts early using these geometric shapes, and they are useful. A lot of times when I'm drawing a woman, I'll start with an hourglass to nail the shoulders and the hips. But it's so mechanical in terms of its approach to analyzing the figure. Like here's a gesture line for the arm. Here's adding some contour to it, some shadow to it, and then some shadow and supporting the contour, and you get an arm. And it's true, and you can see that in these faces here. But when you're abstracting parts instead of like drawing the whole, you end up with problems where you lose control of proportions, you lose control of the actual true shapes. If you let the mechanical process overtake the goal of a quality end result, you're going to end up with some pretty weak drawing. You're just going to lose control of it. But that said, so I'm saying all this negative stuff up front. It is has so many decent little tips I find this is almost more of a supplement to the Bridgman and Loomis I studied more than as a replacement. I would not. And here's one of the first things. So like I teach the 8-head stick, which in terms of like a proportion tool. And here he is using a stick, dividing into 8 segments and then placing the proportions on it. So you can get a straight on head view set of proportions for the male and female figure. And here he is curving it up. And it's a good way, like if you study these, and I studied these, it's a good way to find the mistakes in your work when you're doing a drawing. It's like, okay, well, this isn't working. Why isn't it working? Let's break down the abstractions. But I find it a deeply flawed way to approach drawing the figure. You just end up with some kind of goofy looking shit happening all the time. I mean, look at the shoulders. I mean, her shoulders are almost male width when their shoulders should be almost like, and her hips are way too narrow. He spends all this time doing a diagrammatic drawing, and it's actually quite an unattractive drawing. And in terms of like teaching the lessons, in terms of the proportions of shoulders, I mean, this woman has what would traditionally be male shoulder widths in terms of like standard proportions, and male hip widths, which is a slight pinch here at the bottom of the rib cage. And even there, I think the rib cage is a little too big. This is kind of sad, like the head proportions and drawings here. So I'm showing a whole bunch of stuff of why not to do it. Where it starts getting better is when you start getting these tools to find your mistakes, like range of motion, looking at the silhouettes. Here's mixing with some horse drawings. Yeah, see, these systems are interesting. I like some of how he's breaking down the core mass of the rib cage and the pelvis and the trunk. Some of this stuff is incredibly useful. But as you go through it, as you learn better anatomy from other sources, you can start seeing the mistakes quite quickly. So what I'm thinking is, like, if you start with Jack Ham's head and human figure, and you move on to Bridgman and Loomis, you got the 3 big steps of drawing the human figure already accomplished. And there's some much more advanced books I'd recommend beyond that. This isn't necessarily more advanced; it's more complicated. And it has a lot of great, especially when it starts getting into like surface detail. Let me flip through here. Like look at how many structural elements they're bringing to breaking down the face. If you spend some time doing a couple of examples of this, you will memorize these reference points and how you find them. It was tedious as hell practicing these, by the way. But when you start looking for those landmarks that they're indicating, it's easier when you're drawing, like, to correct things when you're looking for those elements, as opposed to trying to start from scratch drawing these elements. Hopefully that makes sense. Noses, eyes, facial hair. Oh, I love this. This drawing is so, this feels like this drawing here should be, oh, I keep missing it. Yeah, I feel that should be like in a D&D monster manual or player's handbook or something. It just looks so over the top 1970s fantasy. Some studies, some marker drawings. He's got a nice section on clothing folds. And the thing is, this entire section's in the Jack Ham book, so you don't need this book. And it looks like some of his examples are literally copied from the Ham book. It might not be the case, but it looks a lot like it. Now, this for me was, I learned a little bit from it, made it worthwhile to add to my collection. I wouldn't even recommend it in the top 4 anatomy books. I would say it's in the top 10. So if you got the primary 3 I mentioned, and you got the Hampton book and a few of the other books, then maybe get this one. But and only in as much as it sort of enhances your knowledge of the human figure. Now this book. Okay, is the echo still there? Toes. All right, but this one, now the interesting thing for me is the Riley approach to color has a lot more practical effects than his approach to drawing. He has the same analytical break everything down to uh, almost insane degree, but I think color deserves that. And once you actually process this, and this is very similar to what's in a lot of other, like the Loomis color and illustration book is pretty good on this. That's where I learned a lot of this stuff, although not in this format. There's a lot of black and white in this book because I think when it was created, it didn't have a huge amount of color availability. That's an old palette. That's a very old grid. Color grids are something that traditional illustration programs used a lot, where you just learned to mix every variation of your palette. So when you're working on a painting, you're not kind of going, "What happens if I mix it with this?" You know what colors you can make from the start. This is a pretty good. Uh, if I taught a painting class, this would be like one of the exercises I'd teach, where you have the exact same drawing, and you got to come up with all these different variations of lighting for essentially the same painting, and it would teach you a lot. I'd probably force you to use the same palette, and then work through that. Um, Lots of swatches. You end up doing a lot of swatches and mixing in a thorough color class. Drapery. He actually gets into painting drapery. Last book, he drew a little bit. See, the weird thing is the drawing in this book seems significantly better as well. So I have a feeling that maybe all the illustrations for the human figure book were class examples he didn't think he had to redo. So they were, drawn during class time, probably live. Haven't had a chance to finish reading this. I only got about like halfway through it. So far, it's like I encountered the Riley painting color method before in a smaller book. It was all in black and white, which was really hard to play with the colors there. But I do like how systemic this one breaks things down. If I was teaching a color course, I probably this in the Loomis book, Creative Illustration, would be my textbooks, basically just for how good a resource they are. So these are the books this week. Let's see here. Tiny toes. All right. So again, I spent a few hours Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and even yesterday doing little Galactus thumbnails, little sketches, what I wanted to do. And I realized, Galactus and the Surfer really work, especially for a bigger piece. So I came up with the idea of this 3/4 shot looking down. I might zoom in a bit more. I want a little bit more forced perspective on his ear. Would Deadpool call these blowjob handles too? Because that's almost cosmic level blowjob handle. I don't know if that would actually be visible. No, that wouldn't be visible on that side. Yeah, so I just thought the idea of like bright underlight here, Silver Surfer's trail coming across the image, looping around and coming around to about there. So I like the idea. I've drawn before, like this weird kind of like playing around the idea that Galactus is more of a cosmic being than some sort of giant humanoid. I like the idea of him having like these weird like little energy ports with like floating spheres. I do this a lot. And then more of a biomechanical understructure, looking more like a Borg ship between his armored straps and shoulder pads and everything. But to do this and to do the level of detail, here's an old John Byrne Galactus thing I pulled up for reference. I could have pulled out Parable, but I don't want to make myself look too much more like Moebius because I'm already so inclined to draw a Galactus that looks like Moebius, like I'm tracing Moebius or copying Moebius or something. So I started working on the head, realizing I'm going to draw it as the size I'm comfortable with because of the amount of details. And when I finished drawing all the parts, I actually originally drew like a much more Yeah, I've erased so much. You see from this the rib cage structure here, I put, sorry, rib cage, the collarbone structure I put in here. The head was actually coming more outward towards us. This is now more like this. Also like the idea of like perhaps leaving some of the basic anatomy of a human being behind when you're drawing Galactus because he's not human. Am I doing Kirby Crackle? Well, if this is going to be a black and white painting, I'm definitely going to be doing some sort of special effects. I'm just not necessarily going to stick to pure Kirby Crackle. I found that I can do it. I've done it quite a few times, in fact, for different illustrations and sketches and commissions and stuff. And I like it more with. I feel it works more with an updated fourth world like Darkseid and all those characters. There's something about it that actually feels more appropriate there. Whereas the Kirby Crackle and updated, like drawing in a contemporary style of a lot of his Marvel designs, it feels like it's overkill. I'd much rather do white paint and airbrush effects in a painting than necessarily doing Kirby Crackle. Although I might stomp in some circles and stuff as I'm working on it. So I want that neck loop that he has. What I'm going to do, I'm also going to pull that neck loop back into his head. I'm going to do some Kirby redesign here while I'm working at this. This comes out like that and goes down to his rib cage. The wonderful thing about drawing on bond is I can immediately, if I don't like something, but I like something, I can slide it under and trace it off really quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'll get this head and helmet right. I may not be happy with the rib cage when I'm done, but I'm going to get the head and helmet right. And then I'm going to draw the figure part probably separate on its own, hopefully making sure that it matches up with the head. Otherwise, I have to redraw the head again. And once I get those two parts happy, I'm going to figure out exactly where I want the Silver Surfer. So then I end up drawing the Silver Surfer, which I'll probably drawing significantly bigger than I'll be painting it. And by working bigger, I can give myself a lot of room to make mistakes that will seemingly disappear when reduced. If that makes sense. I think if I want this to look right, I'm going to have to actually give him some somewhat human anatomy to begin with. That comes down there. Yeah, that's completely messed up. I have so many different erasers to work with. These ones, apparently, these Moo erasers. Hang on. Let's see if I got one in the case. So these were my go-to erasers forever. They're, where's the Moo? Here we go. Moo. This is their symbol from Diana Co. Limited, made in Korea. Apparently, they no longer have a North American distributor. I don't know if they're even made anymore because I don't read Korean. But these were wonderfully soft. You can see how like super soft this is. And the dust is really thick, easily cleaned up. Can use them down to like bare nubs. And they pick up a lot of the graphite really quickly. I like the head angle. I like the curve I put in the eye. I'm probably going to do a backlight around this little square here. So I'll probably clean that up in Photoshop before I merge it. And then just have like a little black square like that with an eye hole through it with light overwhelming it. So that'd be like an airbrush point. So what I'm doing is I'm plotting out in a place that you can't even see. There we go. Plotting out his collarbones here, because then I can assemble everything from like neck muscles, trapezius. And again, I just said I want to leave the human anatomy behind, but you don't want something to look wrong because you're doing that. That looks a little bit better. Oh, there's been chat. Yeah, Gil Kane's phone was pretty cool. Black Racer is pretty cool. I think my only experience of him was seeing him in Who's Who of the DC Universe. And I think it was a drawing of him skiing in the air through someone's room. And someone was just reacting to the Black Racer zipping through his room. It was so freaking weird. Okay, so the rib cage is coming down through that. This is coming down like that. Yeah, that looks right. So I'm gonna start with the old burn design, and then start making it more mine as we go along. Can you see all this? I have to move this up, I think. What can I do to keep this elevated a bit? Maybe one of these. Okay, that works. Maybe I should just pull this higher. Hang on. There we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, I'm pretty sad that my favorite. Like, had I had any notice instead of it like just disappearing, I would have bought like a box, which I think is a lot of artists' response to our materials going out. That should curve a bit more, shouldn't it? Yeah. There we go. If this is going along here, there we go. I screwed that up. It's going along at this height, and it's going to be a lot narrower coming on through there. Makes the head look small, but I can change that when I assemble it, as long as this part looks like it makes sense. Pull it up there. Let that curve down. It's usually when I like sticking like a big and a ball floating right in front of it. So there'll be light coming from inside this cavity here. And that ball will be lit from behind that ball. Sorry, that ball will be lit from light coming out of there. I'm going to be doing all sorts of weird stuff all over and tech stuff all over this. Yeah, the head's going to be bigger. This is going to be smaller. I'm drawing the torso too big. But, you know, you do what you can. Kids coming out through there. Coming like that. Have this wrap around. Okay, yeah, so this head's too small, but it's at the right size for me to draw and figure out what I'm doing with it. So let's figure out this head. So we got jaw coming down here, jaw coming up, circle. Guesstimating that's going to be that corner. Sort of like that. Let's go up to here. put more of a spike in this. I don't like that blobby thing at the some of these Kirby burn elements are just too blobby. He's put like a weird kind of like soft cone on top of his helmet, which doesn't seem to feel very Galactus-y to me. Just feels like needless. Let's pull this up here. Let's make it more like a crown. Oh, yeah, I did blow it off center. Yeah, these weird characters with elements going every single direction in perspective are always tricky to get right. I reserve the right to change that later. Artist license. Yeah, I don't like that either at all. I'm gonna have to come up with something different for that when I get to there. Let me give myself a good solid line that I'll have to fight with to erase it later. That and that. So if I do those 2 points. Yeah, that and that. Okay, so if that's the center line going up, and I'm guessing that's the center line going up Kirby's Galactus helmet here, then you can see that this is way off to the side from where I want it to be. Same with this peak here. So I just erase everything. I grabbed a different eraser. I have so many erasers. Actually, you know what I think I'll do? Instead of let these be higher, and now I'll let this part, get this curve back, I'll let this part be shallower and lower. I can even do it like a double peak. That allows me to show more of this, the other blowjob holder. Yeah, it looks a little bit better to me. So we got that peak there. This comes down, get another peak in there. See if there's any chat. Boom boxes are the best. If you really want to upset a trainload of people, get a boom box. Now, let's see here. Just putting down some rough geometry here to see where I can put shapes that work for me for this. So a lot of it is develop your basic shape, then cut stuff out. Trying to find some sense of unity in like how I'm breaking up these shapes. Now, a lot of like the weird, hopefully H.R. Geiger-esque wiring I'm going to be doing in the grooves of what's Galactus are going to be done in. I'll put down a wash to get the value of the area down. And there'll be some dark marks to indicate the shapes. And then I can go in with white pencil crayon and white paint at the end of it all to really make it feel mechanical. So I'm just doing these scribbly vertical lines to give an indication where I'm going to be doing like lots of time-consuming bullshit work, suggesting there's tech. Try and build mechanical elements into those headpiece things there. Makes it feel like they actually have a purpose as opposed to just like insane Kirby designs. Which again, nothing wrong with that, but kind of cool if as bizarro as Galactus looks, everything looks like it serves a purpose. I think I know what I'm going to do with the neck. All these cables running back and forth with like weird little canisters and tubes and spheres. I'm thinking a little bit like the insides of Ash from Alien after they bash him open. He's got these like weird grapes and wires and spaghetti running everywhere. I mean, we're talking about something that lives off of the destruction of planets. So its anatomy is going to be a little funky. It's not going to have like your regular colon. Okay, let me clean this up a bit and then do similar stuff on the far side. Should also, that line looks right. I might end up tweaking it a bit in Photoshop after I scan it, because I'm generally happy with this head. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible. And terrible is usually when I toss things over to the side, like all those Galactus drawings. So if some of them weren't so freaking messy, I probably would share them. I think I want that to go higher. Maybe there, yeah. One of the tricks, if you got like a messy thick line and you have a ruler that has a nice bevel on it, you can like lay it adjacent, don't like cover the line. And take one of your softer erasers and just run it right along the bevel. And you get your clean line. There's going to be some, because Galactus is so huge, I get to do some like focus detail things. So like this further fin or whatever we're calling it won't be as in focus. So I don't have to do how dirty my hand gets from just drawing carelessly like this. Use that same support, indicate shapes. They don't have to match perfectly. Do I want anything in this part here? I could do more than the mechanical stuff and then do a shadow line, or I could just do like a raised plate. Let's do a raised plate. So we elevate the bottom part of this out a bit. It's coming like that. It's casting a shadow because it's raised. Indicate lighting direction. So I'm pretty happy with the head. Then I mean, the torso is forgettable, but like if I can use the head that I've drawn here, I think I'm good. So if I do the shadow line from there, then this becomes the going like that, and this goes like towards that. So I'm actually going to probably have the Silver Surfer as almost like a source of light. So I'll have like nice shadows coming through here. This part will be in shadow. This will be all sorts of weird tech. I might even, you know what? I'm going to draw this here. I'm going to make the collarbones look like support structures in his armor and have stuff connected to it. This will be casting a big shadow through that. Through that. Everything's going to connect through there. Actually, honestly, the rib cage doesn't look as big, especially if I crop it properly. And this is going to be drawn really huge. I'm probably not going to have to change anything there. And let's see if I got a sphere that matches that. Here, now it's this one. It's pretty much. All right. Let's start fighting around with the body. So I think I'm happy with this head. Hey, Paula, how you doing? So I think I got the head right. Not entirely 100% sure how I did the top here. I could theoretically have a dome come in here to fill that up. So it comes back, and this comes out to here. So I can erase this out here. And I could do, I like the glowing orb thing. I could do another one up here. Could be like a part of like how he, navigates the universe or something. He's like got some of these tiny little planets like full of data just orbiting his body. Excuse me. You know what? I'm just going to get frustrated if I start fucking around with the top of the helmet. So let me put the top of the helmet aside. Put on the Sargasso books over here. And let me start figuring out his torso. My throat was getting a little dry. All right, so this is generally the composition I came up with. I have the head and top of the torso drawn over there, but I want to get the body correct. Here, let me just see here. So it's like there. This goes right to the top. All right, so I sketched the body in this area. We're good. This area here. So. Something like that going on here. better to overdraw his body for this part because I can always crop off more. And Burn and Kirby gave him like super thick limbs, so it probably behooves me to actually emulate that. Just getting weird notifications popping up on my laptop. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that didn't interrupt the stream at all. Oh, I just got the URL for it today. Not next Saturday, but the Saturday following, Comic Art Fans Live, or Comic Art Live, is having a combination interview and art sale with me. So a number of the recent pieces, the Joker, the Batman, some of the other stuff, are going to be available there. Some recent covers that I've shared are going to be made available there. Yeah, so that's not this Saturday coming up, but the one following. I'll be probably talking it up next week as well. I wonder if I want to give to Galactus like, Mickey Mouse fingers, just 3. Kirby gave him those weird gauntlets, and Burn did too. I mean, these don't make sense, but what I can do is I can actually incorporate them into what I'm already doing with Galactus. Sarah, hang on. I gotta read that. Will you finish recent which? Oh, the cover for Coven? Yeah, I've been inking it. I had to restart inking because I actually went too crazy on the bookcase and it just wasn't working. So I just started re-inking it this morning. And that could be why I didn't get enough time to work on a decent Galactus for today. Although I'm still drawing it. But yeah, that Coven piece is going to be done this week. because it's going to go on the Zoop announcement page or coming soon page very soon as they get their stuff together and finally get all those wonderful books out to everyone. Long overdue. Long overdue. The one benefit for in as much as that there's any sort of benefit for this is every delay was a learning process. So it's unlikely we'll make the same mistakes twice in terms of getting everything out for the next campaign. One of the best things about this is I have a good partner in my production guy. He learned a lot too. So I'm definitely keeping him around for doing the production for the next book. And it's largely a color book. There's a couple of stories I'm on the fence about coloring because they just might look better black and white, but there's enough color in the book to justify doing everything in color. Does that make sense? Might as well keep those swoops of Galactus's skirts for now. Oh, I ended up streaming The Instigators. It's Matt Damon and not Ben Affleck. It's the younger Affleck. Not bad. It's in as much it's like a decent little caper movie. I wouldn't call it a great movie by any stretch, but it's decent. It's watchable if you want a nice little like movie that'll make you have a couple of good laughs. It's got those. It doesn't offer a lot other than pretty nuanced performances. Well, not nuanced. Well paid. Otherwise, that would be super broad. How am I going to explain this? It's an okay movie. It's an okay movie. Great actors. So many great actors, top to bottom, great actors. They're not exactly slumming, but it's a fun movie. Make his forearm bigger off of this. That means I can make his deltoid bigger. And then his triceps come down bigger. And there's going to be stuff covering that. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Not too thick. That's better. His leg comes out through there, but I'm probably not going to see the legs. Do I want that hand coming around through there? Like sitting underneath where the surfer is going to be? Or do I want it like also like surprised, like he's reacting to it? He's a powerful being. Let's do the cupped hand. Mm, just gonna have that shoulder pad coming down over this. I'm not in love with it, but it sort of gets there. It, the old cover is out. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Anson. Yep, Charles. This is how I do it. I haven't drawn Galactus other than just a headshot for years. In fact, I think the piece I used as a thumbnail for this was the last time I drew Galactus, and of course that was just a bust. I think I drew like a torso like 6-7 years ago. That tells you how often I get to draw Galactus. Not sure which. You mean like the Coven book that got printed? It's finally back, and it's apparently going to be shipping out this week. But they've been saying that for a while now, just because everything's taking longer these days. But so apparently everything should be out soon. That's the cover for the first book. The cover I'm working on, the one I posted, that's for the book that I'm putting on Zoop this October. That's Coven Tales from the Witch House. So that's what the new cover I'm working on is for. Now I could redraw this hand a bunch of times. But what I'll probably do is I will take parts of Bond. It won't be that sexy to look at, but I will do I'll just lay it over here, do lines to match up so I have an idea where the contours are. And then I can do sketch out the whole arm, like bring the actual arm to the foreground, the meat of the forearm, the wrist. Until I find an aspect of the drawing that works for me that I think I can actually keep. So I can do sketches like that. And I can do again and again and again, and I'll use like pieces of bond because here it's opaque, there it's translucent. Here it's opaque, there it's translucent. So it's almost like tracing paper, and it's so handy. How are we doing time wise? 10 after 8. Let me do some. I almost feel I should rinse that off here. Get a paper towel. I have all sorts of things in my studio for like quick cleaning up. Most often I'll just take a little squeeze bottle of water. One of these, which I often use when I'm painting, but just make sure they have water in them. Change the water every week so it doesn't get like stagnant and maybe, I don't know, smells or anything or mold. I don't want that. So I clear up my bottles every week, put a bunch of new water in it. And when I have to clean off all the graphite off my hand, a little paper towel. And it's mostly clean enough for me not to make a massive mess. Okay, so oh my gosh, so people think that I was replacing the cover for Coven. Oh no, that book's been printed for I think it's been on its way back from Korea April or May. I'd have to go back through my emails, but it's been months. It's been months since it's printed. It's just everything at the shipping things, unloading, loading the boats, unloading the boats. Everything's just taking longer. In fact, I think last week, one of the Zoop staffers had just shipped everything they finally took possession of to the distributor guy, and I've shipped all my stuff to the distributor guy because they didn't want them sitting on it for too long. So now that everything's out of my hands, there's literally nothing I can do about Coven, the first book, because everything's going to be shipped by them. I'm getting some copies sent to me, so there's a couple of local buddies who are going to get hand delivered their copies, and I might be doing a signing or two once I take possession of, I don't know, 100 or so of the books. And I'm already talking to one really supportive retailer out in Ottawa about doing a early October Coven Tales from the Witch House signing promotion for the crowdfunder. So that's pretty good. So yeah, so October. Let me spend a few minutes on Coven here because that's part of what my big future plans are. All right, so right now we have the pending delivery. Coven. Yay, I'm so happy about that. I so love drawing my witches. Can't do more than that or I'll get censored. So that's it should start being in people's hands within weeks. I don't know how long U.S. shipping is, but I've been told the stuff's about to go out any time now. So that's should be in people's hands any day now. Now for October, we have Coven. Tales from the Witch House. Now, what this is a whole pile of short stories that are very much world building stories. You can see someone who actually how she becomes a witch. You're going to get a slight explanation of the magic of this witch world. There's going to be a couple of like just weird experimental stories that I've been wanting to do for a long time that fit with this perfectly. So there's several short stories I don't want to share. I was going to originally share them all on my Patreon. I just realized I've already like done so many changes to the first couple of stories that instead of publishing them and then doing them, I'd much rather just have the one story that everyone's going to be able to read, plus flash some excerpts from these stories that'll be done for the book um, in October, starting on October 1st. Unlike last couple of Witchtovers where I did a witch drawing, there's going to be essentially a half page, but it's going to be more or less like a panel a panel a day on all the social media. So, for example, let's say October 2nd, you're going to get one panel with the word balloons and everything. So you'll be able to go through all 31 days and you'll have a complete story. So it's going to be at least 16 pages because there's going to be some like day one's going to be like two you know, in Instagram where you can like scroll to the right and see like another image. So the first day is going to be like two images, and it's going to work out to be an even number of pages. So it's going to over the month of October, there's going to be a whole Witchtober story. And the one I'm looking at right now, it's called Scarecrow, and they're bordering on the light fantasy, weird fantasy stuff to horror because I mean it's spooky season. So, and during this month, when I'm doing the panel a day through all the social medias, that's when the Zoop campaign will be running for Coven Tales from the Witch House. And we're aiming to be about a 100-page book again. But one of the things I want to do is there's going to be a little gallery in the back. And every page of the gallery is going to have upwards of 4 images. They're going to be like framed paintings or drawings in a gallery of famous or important personages from the world of the witches here. And this gallery is going to be made up entirely of backers of the campaign who want themselves turned into characters from the witch world. So what happens is you pay for the book and your add-on of being in the portrait gallery. And so you give me permission, you have to provide like photo reference of you or the person you want put in the book. And I'm going to use the name, but I'm going to make up a whole bunch of history, like 2-3 lines of why they're important to the history of this witch world. And I think we're going to cap that out at 5 to 6 pages potentially. But this is the way some Patreon Kickstarter things, they'll just list people's names. I thought it'd be kind of nice. You want to be drawn as a character in the witch world. You can. So that'll be a neat little backer stretch goal thing. Instead of just buying artwork and then getting the collection of the artwork, this actually, if you want to be turned into like an 18th century witch finder, I get to use your name, I'll use your likeness, I'll draw you in period appropriate clothing, I'll write up a little made up bullshit around you that your character, and that'll be your character. And then if I ever want to use that character, I'll reach out to you and say, Kate, can I use you as in this story that I want to do? Which if I really like the character design based on you type of thing. So yeah, so it'd be a nice little gallery of I don't know, 5, maybe 8 pages, depending on like how crazy. Like if the first tranche of portraits goes really fast, we'll add some more. But I don't want to add too much stuff to like the back end of producing the book. So I think that'll be fun. A chance that you can either get you or your friend or a loved one put into the book. And okay, there's going to be some rules. There's going to be a little bit like if you're buying it, you're going to get like an email with like you can be this type of character, this type of character, this type of character. Only women or non-male identifying people can be witches. So that's kind of rule. It's Part of the weirdness of the world I created that all the witches are female identifying. So that becomes a rule. But you can be a wizard. You can be a woman wizard or a male wizard or non-binary or whatever, anywhere in the spectrum. Anyone can be a wizard. Anyone can be a witch finder. Anyone can be a werewolf. Anyone can be a vampire. Anyone can be a demon or devil. So I'm going to have to put together a little PDF so everyone who buys this tier can actually understand the full realm of possibilities of who they could be. So that I'm thinking this might be a really popular idea. It might be a little expensive because everyone's gonna have to buy a piece of artwork, but they get the artwork, they get the book, they get the artwork, they show up in the book. So it should be really fun. So yeah, this is the first. They told me to stop and not talk about it till everything was out of my hands, and so all the rewards are off in the U.S. The book is with their fulfillment office. So as far as they're concerned, I can start talking about Coven Tales from the Witch House right now. So that's why I started sharing the pencils for the cover for Tales from the Witch House. If you're a Patreon supporter, you've already seen it. It's already posted up there. It gives me an opportunity to talk about my Patreon too. Patreon, $1 a month. Richard Pace over on Patreon, just $1 a month, and you get to see all sorts of stuff. Weeks to months, sometimes even just days. But for example, I did the cover for Babs 4 from Ahoy. I feel I did that in February or March, and it's only being seen publicly now. So you would have had all those months to enjoy this piece that no one else got to. Plus, nothing ever gets censored when I put it on Patreon. So when I do my sexy little drawings, you get to see everything. Which is again the problem I ran into with Instagram this week, where I posted censored drawings and they tried to get me to pull them down until I appealed it and they actually let it go. But yeah, so this is the update on Coven. So I got August and September to finish most of the guts of the book. Then the campaign's going to happen, and I'm going to be doing the daily storytelling, which I'll also be working on other interior stuff. I have a dedicated flatter, so he'll be flatting all this stuff as well. I might let this serialize in black and white, out of tradition for the previous Witchtober. So I might let this go in black and white and decide after it's done if the story gets colored, like the daily posted panels. It might just look better in black and white. Some stories are gonna have to be in black and white. Like there's one story I'm working on, which is inspired by the Gashley Crumb kids. Oh God, I'm blanking on his name. How can I forget his name? He's this great horror artist. He did a lot of work for Playboy. He also did all these beautiful, like the Amphibigories and Edward Gorey. Anyway, so there's one story, and I think I got it worked out. So it's probably going to be in it where it's going to be almost like a children's book about the witches. And so it's going to be weird. We're going to be drawing in a slightly different style, but it's all going to be the nude little witches running around. And that might be in 2-color, because some of those Ed Gorey books were in 2 colors. So lots of stuff. So it's going to be a fun book. And if this one's successful, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all that. Next year, October, what'll happen is I'm actually going to do a standalone story, like a big 60 to 80 page story, essentially almost like a mini graphic novel of just following the story of this one witch, and it's going to be called The Giant's Crown. And so that's already pretty much worked out, and I'm not entirely sure what I'd do every day for a month of October for it, but I would definitely do something that's along the lines of a panel a day. I might do like another 16 panel story where it's the origin of the giant crown and how it becomes this thing. Anyway, I think I mentioned before that the giants at one point threatened to destroy the witches' world, and the witches are the only reason why they didn't. So the giants hate the witches, and the witches hate the giants. So that's all that. And oh my God, it's already 8:30. Oh crap! I just spent like 20 minutes talking up Tales from the Witch House. You know what? Okay, what I'm gonna do then is, now that I know what I'm doing with my Galactus, I know what I'm gonna do with the Silver Surfer. So next Sunday, instead of doing Etrigan, which was what I was leaning to do because just before I had such a struggle getting to Galactus, right? Next Sunday, I'm going to have the finished Galactus Silver Surfer piece ready to go, and I'll paint that on stream. I might even skip doing a book just to make up for, even though I got lots of books to talk about. But I think I might just start off and just paint for an hour and a half next Sunday, just on the Galactus piece because it is a bigger piece. Yeah. All right. So let's put this back here so you can at least see what I worked on this week. That big Galactus head. I kind of like it, like the perspective on it. This might still be wrong. I think this is coming forward a bit, if that makes sense. It might need to be like in a shallower angle, so I might redraw that. But this is the process. You draw something, you make mistakes, you fix the mistakes. I might. And as I look at, see, that's the problem. It's like I had all these Galactus drawings. I was like ready to go, and I looked at it the day after, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that one anymore. This one I kind of like. I kind of like the idea of this one, so I think I'm going to stick with this one. But yeah, so next Sunday I'm going to paint this. It'll be an oversized, probably 11 by 17, maybe 12 by 18 piece. It'll be big. And then possibly the week after that, I'll do Etrigan, or I might do some more witch stuff. In the interim, Two-Face. Two-Face would be fun, especially if it's Jughead as Two-Face. That's just for Anson. I think he's the only one who'll get that one. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to support me directly, my $1 a month Patreon's out there. It's super great. I think it's great. It's only $1 a month, and you get to see a whole bunch of art. And when I gotta say, it's like that's where I want to be most available. If you want me to crit your work, you want me to answer specific questions, the Patreon is the best place for it, because then I could actually, because it's the venue where I'm paid to show up, if you know what I mean. I'll take extra time to answer questions. Might even do examples, like say I have a problem drawing a thumb. Can you give me some tips on drawing a thumb? I can do that. And then everyone who's a Patreon supporter also gets to see those elements. So feel free to ask questions. Asking questions over there's a whole chat system on Patreon to use. You want to just follow me on social media? You can find me Richard Pace on Instagram. They don't charge anything for that yet, although it's almost not worth it for free. I'm on Cara, which is the anti-AI art site, which is a nice site. It's nowhere near as big as robust as Instagram yet, but I like the potential of it. I'm also on Bluesky. All those sites I'm on, it's Richard Pace. I'm pretty easy to find. And yeah, other than that, hope you guys enjoyed what I did tonight, even though it wasn't what I was planning to do tonight. And you guys have an amazing week. And hopefully I'll see you all around next Sunday night at 7 p.m. Have a good night, guys.